for the great
We don't play.
Darryl Frankfort.
We don't play.
Did you see
to
what someone
sing.
called you in the comments last night?
No. What?
No?
Dr. D?
Frankenweenie?
Frankenweenie? Really?
Oh, yeah. But
My
thanks for
dad,
commenting like so many different times. Like, oh, we love it. That was a boomer last episode.
Frankenweenie. Yeah,
Yeah.
last episode was a great episode.
Thanks,
TK.
guys. We appreciate you guys. We love you all. And we hope that you enjoy this show, this episode just as much. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You know,
Right
it's not
now.
that hard.
No, but do it
Yeah,
now.
just start off with a little like, comment, and subscribe.
Just a little.
Get off.
I don't
Get
know
off
if you
on the
need to
right foot.
comment right now. Like, watch a bit of the show so your comment isn't just based on the thumbnail.
We know if you're just commenting and not watching the show, by the way. Like if
Yeah,
you comment and I'm
stop
like
it.
100% that guy didn't watch the show or girl,
Yeah,
I know right away. So
stop.
you're better off to watch it and then
Watch
comment.
it.
Yeah.
Comment,
'Cause
share,
I'll know.
like,
I'll know.
subscribe.
I
And
tell my kids that when they come home from school. I'm always like, I know what you did this. I know what you did today.
that's right.
Just you might as well tell me now because I already know. Then, okay.
Which thing
works every time.
Which
Works
teacher
every
called
time.
you? TK, I got something that I gotta figure this out. And I'm hoping.
Yep.
I'm hoping that maybe the channel will come to some good use for me finally.
Okay.
And maybe I can get the opinion of the people out there because TK and I are working on this really great deal right now, or so I thought, right? And now, well, I mean,
it's a deal that
I think it's a deal.
has the potential to be the biggest deal
ever, or the worst deal ever, right? Maybe not the worst deal ever, but like
it could be a deal no matter what. But is it a deal worth going into?
Is it a deal worth tying up the equity in, and timing and all that kind of stuff? But I mean, if we can solve this, then TK, this is like, holy mackerel. But okay, so what I want to know is like, would you consider living in a building where you bought your unit, a condo, and a portion of the unit,
a nice condo?
A beautiful
not just
condo.
any condo. This is not a like.
But you're screwing up what I'm doing here, TK, for a change. Okay, I'm layering it. I'm getting to that.
Layer it. Okay, fine. Just saying.
Let's say
don't picture
not
this like a Hamilton
yet.
condo.
No, but even in Hamilton, like maybe let's just see. Okay, so two opinions, please.
Okay. I'll show.
Take two different perspectives. The first one being like if you were just going to buy a condo downtown Toronto, Hamilton, I guess in Port Perry now you can buy a condo, Newmarket, everywhere you can buy a condo, anywhere you can buy a condo, TK. But would you be willing to buy a condo in a building that had a portion of rental replacement units, which have dictated rents by our city? Is this something that you would be okay with? And honestly, because like I could take both sides of this equation and I can make great sense from both sides. But now that you've thought about it, everybody, which I hope you're still listening, but if you're still listening and you're actually going to comment, now the perspective is like super high-end, ridiculous luxury property with a portion of it with some rent control. It's not rent control. It's rent replacement with rent control.
By old rental stock anyway. So you're not like, it's only your building that has it. The whole neighborhood
swaying the pole already,
also has
several
buildings that have average
It's very
rents.
true, though. It's very
not
true.
Luxury rents.
It's very true.
If you're buying in this building, you know that no matter what, right? But at your doorstep is
look at you, TK,
that you want to be.
I knew it. I knew it.
Sorry,
I just need a little TK in the perspective, right?
Given the.
But thanks for fucking up the poll. That really fucked it up. Probably.
I'm just saying. You guys tell us in the comments if you were going to buy a place that you're going to live in, how comfortable in general would you be knowing that there was not affordable, not like, we're giving people from the streets a place to live, but like
No,
just a controlled
mid-range,
rent, a
mid-range,
mid-range rental,
controlled rent.
controlled rent for people who probably make like 120 grand a year. Think about it.
Is that what it is?
Think about it. If it's a 30% GDS, so now you've got like what, 2 grand a month, 3 grand a month, what,
What's
$2,500 a month?
GDS? What?
Gross
Pretend
debt
I'm
service.
stupid. Oh, right,
So
right, right.
the ratio
Service
of your
ratio.
income
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the,
okay.
so I
Is
don't know.
that what it's called? GDS? Debt
Let's
to
just
service ratio? Debt to debt. Okay,
your
anyways.
GDS ratio, right? So then you've
Yeah.
got, let's say, what, 3 grand a month, $2,500 a month. I don't know, $30,000 a year in rent payments,
Over there?
pending.
Here?
Yeah, somewhere. So 30%, you make a
I
hundred
don't
grand a
know.
year to qualify for that type of rental.
Yeah, but like the building would command rents of like 12 grand a month or something crazy.
I'm
8
just
grand a
saying,
month.
but it's
You're
not
gonna
like
be
it's
renting it
not
for
like you're housing people
2,400.
on welfare. You're housing like
No,
average
yeah.
people.
Yeah, normal people
Yeah,
who will have a score and
who
a
will have a
half,
score, who
right?
are putting their name on the list already.
But I don't know if it makes any bloody sense to do it. Like, and if it's financeable to do it, and if like what people will think. So it would be a great service to me if you could share your opinions in the comment section. And this is not to get comments, to get more views, TK. Although
No,
it would be brilliant if it was.
that would
Like, we
also
should
be
do
pretty
smart
helpful.
stuff like that from time to time. Anyways,
Yeah,
please, thank you. Have a nice day. TK, we have a guest.
we have a guest.
Here he
He's in the room.
comes. He is raring and ready to
We
go,
like
I
our
think.
guests, we get our shows. It's just me and you, and every once in a while, we got to share the love, Darryl.
We got to share the love,
Share the love with the public.
and the public is sharing the love with us, TK. I
I
feel
know. I feel it.
I feel it lately.
You
And then
guys
every
are
once in a while,
giving back right now to us. Let me tell you,
somebody
we
likes to
appreciate it.
punch you in the face. There he is.
Absolutely.
Norman. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
We
Yeah,
can
no
hear you
problem.
perfectly.
Perfect mic too.
Amazing.
Yeah, great background.
Sounds
This is
awesome.
professional. Here we go. Maybe you're
Yeah.
going to make us look good today. This is fantastic. Welcome to the show, Mr.
Thanks,
Norman.
Norman.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So we're already into the show. Darryl and I talked a little bit. We just had a little bit of topics to discuss, and I just kind of give you some information. I give the people who are listening information. So Norman, I found your channel. Okay, you've got a YouTube channel, right? I'd say you're a successful YouTuber, you're a successful real estate agent, you got a good business, and that you share a lot of good content. And I mentioned this to you already, is I saw that a lot of your content, you speak about some of the topics that we do, right? And that's
Yeah.
awesome, because obviously we got a lot in common, but you do it for the Chinese community, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so this is a service that you provide, right? And I feel like your channel needs to get more views. You need to have more people paying attention to it, because you do some really great content. And give us an idea, like, what is your typical client profile? Like, what kind of business are you doing? What part of the city? What kind of deals do you work on? What do you do?
Okay. So I run a team. I have about 15 people. A good amount of them are realtors like us. And two of them, on top of the regular realtors, are my personal assistant. They help me with marketing content, with my YouTube videos edit, with my everything that I want them to help me with. And I have another two people mainly works on the property management. We do help clients to buy a lot of properties, and a lot of them, they don't want to spend that much time managing the tenants landlord relationship, managing the contracting, managing the minor fixings. So we do all that for our clients.
Local clients, or are they abroad?
Sorry?
Are these local clients you're managing the properties for?
They are not necessarily local clients, but they buy locally. They are from everywhere. We manage just over 200 lease contracts, and 50% or ish of the landlord, they are not in GTA. They are from everywhere. They are my previous college friends who studied in U of T, and now they go back to China mainland. There are clients from Japan, from the States, from Ottawa, from BC, from Alberta, from Montreal, really from everywhere. So 50% of them are not here, and from Thailand as well. And the rest 50% of them are really busy people locally. They don't want to do the management themselves, so leave the property to us. So that's how my business works. We pretty much buy and sell the whole GTA area. I assign my team members based on geographic locations. So some people are focusing on the west side, some people are focusing on the east side, some people are north. I myself pretty much focus on downtown. That's my area because I graduated from U of T. A lot of my clients are my friends and friends and professionals working on Bay Street. I also personally handle listings and pre-constructions. So each member of my team has its own function, like lease specialist, purchase specialist, things like that.
How's
What did you go to
pre-construction doing right now? Sorry, TK.
Sorry?
How's the pre-construction market doing these days?
So in my humble opinion, I'm a very straightforward person. I think 96% of the pre-construction projects, they're really junk. I think somehow they are fraudulent that developers try to get a lot of money from the innocent buyer who doesn't really know the market. They are being sold for way overpriced. For example, there are projects in downtown are being sold at 18 to 2,400 per square feet. I've seen those projects. In one project, the larger units is like 1,800. The smaller units like 2,400. I don't know in 3 to 5 years how they can get their mortgage. Maybe the buyer needs to pay 70% to 80% down so that they can get a mortgage. For the rest of the good projects, I do buy them myself together with my clients. I really focusing on only promoting the projects that I personally approve and are willing to pay.
Good. I've watched your videos, Norman, and they are in Mandarin, but you have English subtitles, so I've been able to like watch them and listen to them. And the reason I brought you on the show is because of your honesty and because of the things you say, and that you'll get along great with Darryl. Darryl's not a realtor, by the way. I am, but Darryl's not. He's a developer, so he's got this sort of like view that's just very honest because he's not trying to sell anybody anything. And so a lot of your comments on pre-construction or policies and things like that are all very just like straightforward. So yes. We appreciate that. Just I'm trying to like give our listeners a little bit of background on you. What did you go to school for in U of T?
I studied finance. I'm CFA and FRM. Based on my knowledge, I'm probably the only CFA and FRM real estate broker in Canada.
Why go into real estate after spending this time at U of T in a very reputable program?
Look how smart he is. Look at this networking. Look at this web he's weaved here. It's beautiful.
Okay.
You can see it.
So, by the way, you can see my CFA and FRM designation over there.
I see a white piece of paper that I cannot read, but I believe you. Good. Don't worry.
Okay, no problem. So, my family in China, they are developer themselves. So they are in real estate business. I came to Canada 2009 as an international student. I paid the international student fee by then. That was 120K, like I believe. Now I think it's probably doubled. My family doesn't want me to go to Canada. I was enrolled in a very top university in China as well. So by that time, my family decides to lend me money instead of giving me money to do the program. So it's a lot of money. I've been always thinking about how can I pay them off. So what I did, I tried everything I can. I did TA jobs. I had 11 TA and RA jobs as an undergraduate student before I graduated. Also, I did 2 co-ops with the U of T's co-op programs, which I earned a little bit of money, $24 per hour. TA is way better. TA is $42 per hour, but it's still very little. As I studied finance, I traded stocks, options, futures, anything you can imagine. But I don't make money. I especially don't make extra money than the market. Only when I find out that the market of real estate is really different from here in Canada compared to my hometown in China, I find out some opportunity, which I really actually made a little bit fortune as an undergraduate student. So in China, the home price is really expensive, but the rent is nothing. The rent is like 10% to 20% compared to Canada, but the home price is pretty much the same. But in Canada, to me, that means rent is a lot more expensive and the home price is relatively cheaper. So I borrowed money from my family to buy 2 very very poor conditioned homes in Canada when I was in my second year. And I hold on to them. I lease them out as a single room occupancy. I pretty much collected about $10,000 net profit from each property each year. I bought 2 of them. I bought 2 of them for about 95,000 to 100,000 and sold them for about 130,000 when I graduate.
Where's
and
this?
I paid off
Where
my.
were those?
Oh, I'll get there soon. Okay, so I pretty much paid off my tuition fee before I graduate. But I think the decision of sale is a wrong decision. What happened is that they are in Scarborough, next to UT Scarborough campus.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, you know, when I sold them, they are 130,000. It looks
condos.
good, right? Yeah, it looks good, 40% appreciation. But now they're worth like $500,000.
Yeah. And now you can chop them up into legal suites for the university.
Yeah.
I bought the property at the end of Military Trail there, at Military Trail in Kingston Road. Put that deal together. What a great area. Oh,
yeah.
It's a beautiful area, and it's so underserved. That school, there's so many students there, and there's nowhere for them to live at all. And then there's just this sea of like bungalows and old houses that are like easy to chop up, put a garden suite. Now you can do it legally. I guess before, can you do rooming houses over there?
You know, I think I didn't know that, but I suppose now to do single room occupancy, it should be 3-person only in one unit.
So right now, they're in that area, you can't do rooming houses, but March 2024, the policy's been changed. So March 2024, Scarborough's going to have legal rooming houses.
Yeah.
So in that area, you can do up to 6 rooms per house. So they're trying to make it a little bit different. Yeah. In that area.
Crazy.
That'll be housing. Okay. So just, again, I'm not trying to stay on this topic too long, but you saw a lot of success in real estate. You saw that was a bigger opportunity than you did in the finance world, which is what you were going to school for. And so then after you graduated, you said, well, instead of going through with my degree, you're going to then get into real estate. You started selling real estate. You built a team. And now you offer this really, actually a very smart service. I used to do similar things for my clients. I had management. I had about 75 doors. I did a lot of things for investors the same way. But you also do other things like construction wise. You're willing to really help people with development, with a lot of other things. Like talk a little bit about that, like the new multiplex study that what's your opinion on that? I've heard it already. You know, that now we're allowed to build multiplexes. How do you think that's going to affect Toronto homeowners?
Okay. So I did. I'm not like Darryl. I only built a few custom built homes myself. I built about 5 of them, including my own home, which where I'm sitting now. After that, I think I'm done. I think I'm still doing better as a realtor. Okay.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I'm not really a developer.
Horrible business. Yeah.
It's not a horrible business, but I think I'm more gifted in being a realtor. I'm not very resistant to different weathers, like hot weather and cold weather. I would prefer stay at my comfortable home with air conditioning serving me instead of outside.
Are we talking metaphors though? Like, is that like the weather, or are you talking about
build a house, man? In the winter, you got to go to the house. You have to go to the house, and it's friggin' cold because there's no heater, right?
I agree. You know, I'm from China. I was not born here, so I don't want to stay outside in the winter for too long.
It's no good if you're born here either. Trust me, it's horrible.
Okay. Yeah.
So what about your clients though? Like, what are they buying right now? Like, what are they looking for? Like, what is the typical deal that you're out there searching for?
Yeah. So I also want to talk a little bit about the construction side. I after I finish constructing business, I figure out that this is really not for profit, especially for amateurs. If you are not a professional builder like Darryl, it's not your business. So don't really build. You can buy and hold, and hopefully the land appreciate and sell it to builders, but don't build yourself. It's too much headache. And I think it's not really profitable because new builders who build for themselves make tons of mistakes. And all those mistakes are costing you, which makes the very marginal profit gone very soon. And some people even have a bigger loan than they can digest. I saw listings, I saw half-finished buildings in Scarborough being sold at land value. So a lot of people could go bankruptcy by building something that they cannot handle.
Yeah.
Come back to the topic about what I buy my clients.
Been there.
So, yeah, one of my golden rule is that I only buy new homes. New homes doesn't mean pre-constructions. New homes means any homes first occupied after 2018 November 15th. That means there's no rent control. Why this is so important? Because in Ontario, tenants are really protected very well. They are protected like the new baby sitting in the room served by all the nurses. They have been spoiled in a way. So Ontario is not like Texas. There are two things that makes landlords a weaker position compared to tenants. Number one, there's rent control. Most homes, you can only increase the rent for the same tenants for like 1 to 2% each year. And after certain years, your rent will be like 20%, 30% off market. That's when the problem happens, because the tenants are making like a positive cash flow in a way, like $800, $500 in a way each month. They're not going to move out. Okay, no. They're not going to move out. So the home literally becomes the tenant's home. I even see people sublease the home and doesn't return the home to the landlord.
Yeah.
They pay on time, they're okay, but they're just taking advantage. So the second thing is that in Ontario, the landlord cannot decide not to lease to the tenants after a contract expires. The tenant, however, can decide to move out at any time with 60 days notice. So that's two reasons: rent control and the fact that landlord cannot stop leasing a unit to someone makes landlord really in a weak position. Yeah. I've seen bad tenants, they've just bullying the landlord. I even see landlord suicide. So the bad tenants stop paying rent. The landlord has to apply through LTB, and they need to wait for a year.
Yeah.
So that it get heard. And the judge somehow always give the tenants a chance. If you pay off the bill, you got to stay there. So a lot of tenants, even if they get to pay the full amount after 1 year, they still make 5% from saving that in the bank account. That's why I always encourage my clients, including myself. I sold all of my old homes when the Ford government is in the house, and changed the rent control rule. There's a small note there saying that any home first occupied after 2018 and November 15th are not subjective to rent control. So that way, if you have a bad tenant, you can increase the rent significantly. Especially when the tenants stop paying rent, you can increase the rent very harshly, so that when after 1 year, they're not just paying you like 3,000 times 12, like 36,000. They can be paying you like 10K times 12, like 120K. As the tenants, they know this. If they make troubles with new homes owners, they will be facing this issue. That's when they go to LTB, they could go bankrupt. So that's the bad tenants. They now, based on my observation, they try to avoid new homeowners and go and find only those old homeowners to target on and bully those people. So in my opinion, I think holding new homes in Ontario is a good choice. You can increase the rent as much as you want. I normally only increase to like 10% off market rents if they are good tenants, okay? But if they're bad tenants, the landlord at least have a way to, bargain with the tenants. As a tenants, they all know better than the landlord. They now focusing on leasing and bullying only the old homeowners. So I think
we're and I totally agree, and that's a good strategy, and it's actually my strategy as well. If I'm going to be in the GTA, I don't think that you should be looking at, if you have an option, at anything that's built previously to 2018, right?
Yeah.
But we're giving the tenants a little bit too much credit. One is they're not going to put the money in the bank and get 5%.
Yeah.
No.
These tenants they're
not waiting for the LTB
I don't know what
hearing,
these guys are
right?
doing with the money.
Saving and
they're
investing.
all a little bit, Yeah, they're all a little bit out there, right? You would do that because you've got the mind for it, right? But most of these tenants are not as financially responsible.
Strategic. Yeah.
And then also, like, I don't think that there's too many who are target. I think the bad tenants, actually, you bring up a good point. The really bad tenants would target first, they would target people renting on their own who don't have a realtor or property manager. That's who they would target, dealing directly with the landlord. Second, then they would target people who are in older stock because of the rent control. But I think not every tenant has got the same knowledge. I think a lot of tenants are ignorant to a lot of to the policies and stuff like that. So definitely, I'll try not to give too much credit to the tenants, but I agree.
There's a lot of
I agree with all
people,
the things that you're saying.
but there's a lot of people on TikTok that are telling people how it works at the landlord tenant board. You know, like it's spreading that you can get away without paying your rent for a year. And like that's just on TikTok. Like we know that there's companies that, you know, will make the paperwork you need. Well, there's also companies and people that will coach people to get what they need, right?
Yeah.
However they need to do it.
And
by the way, I want to share one more information because my
Sure.
team does a lot of leases. I think the fake documents we received has increasingly has increased a lot. Like I used to collect like 5 to 10% fake documents. I think now it's like 25 to 30%.
Are there
of
more
fake documents?
And
And
are there
what's a
more
fake
people?
document?
Are there more people like applying for the same size unit now? Like I keep hearing that. Didn't we hear like 4 people for like a 1-bedroom were applying? Like I've heard this a bunch of times. 4 people for a 2-bedroom, 3 people in a 1-bedroom are applying because they can't afford anything else.
It's not like that. Fake documents means they provide a fake credit report. Their credit score is like 400, but they give me something like 780. They provide a fake income proofs that they are making 100, 150K each year. So we try our best to avoid that. So that's a tricky part because before I think that the tenants are not so equipped with the documents that they can create from a fake side. Now more tenants, especially tenants with worse credit scores, with not enough incomes, they try to make up fake documents in order to get approved by landlord.
Well, how are immigrants like? Look, we're flooding the country with all these new immigrants. Like, how are they supposed to find a place when the landlord's like, you need to have proof of income for 6 months, and they're like, well, I just got here last week. Like I've worked for the last 2 days at the fishmonger's place or wherever. Like, how are these people supposed to find a place when they move here, when there's no options and the landlords are like looking for the best possible tenant?
What do you mean you don't have a credit report? You've been here for like 2 weeks.
Get out of here.
Come on, you deadbeat. How come you haven't, you know?
No, but seriously, how's this happening?
I do have a lot of clients who really don't have a credit score. A lot of them are international students. Some of them are new immigrants here to get their master's degree or PhD degree done. For those people, the most important thing is that try your best to provide like 6 months or even 12 months rent paid upfront. And they still can find something. Yes.
Yeah, they find something. Eventually they find an arrangement that would work for them. So here, I want to change course here. So one of your last videos, you were interviewing an agent from, I think it was Beijing.
Yes.
And so what did you learn from that video? The differences between the Toronto market and Beijing? Because obviously you never work there. You work here. You're an expert in the Toronto area. He's an expert in Beijing. What did you learn the difference between Toronto and the Beijing markets?
Okay, that's a funny topic. I did never worked in China or in Beijing, but my family ran real estate business in China. So I think I still know China pretty well. And thank you for searching me so well. You did a lot of good research. I appreciate that and I respect that. I think the current market for the Chinese real estate is relatively staying stable or relatively going down a little bit. The reason behind it is that there are too many homes in China based on my research. China's data is not as open as here in Canada. We know how many people we have. We know how many homes are there. So I did some research from my own channel that in China right now, there's about 1.4 billion in population, and there's about 680 million homes. That's pretty much 2 people per home. Okay, 2 people per home. In Toronto, every 1,000 people has about 360 homes. That's about 3 people a home. Okay, you don't need to remember the exact numbers. Just remember 2 people a home in China, 3 people a home in Canada. So also the Chinese population has been surpassed by Indian. And the Chinese population is no longer growing as they used to be. They are going to stay at about 1.4 million for a little bit. I think that's a very deadly sign for real estate, because people start losing trust in the real estate price. In another way is that the rent in China is so low that it makes the buying real estate and betting on collecting the rent a no game. Okay, so you don't make a profit from buy and hold and rent it out. I think the cap rate for many major cities like Beijing is like 0.5% to 1%. If you want to make money by buying real estate in China, you are betting on the appreciation 100%. A lot of people even doesn't lease it out because they believe if a tenant moves in, it's going to take more damage to the home than the rent they collected. So I think the Chinese real estate market is in a difficult time. That's the rent is likely to go up as people's making more money. The economy is developing, but the real estate price wise is at a place where people doesn't want to drop price to sell, but the liquidity is not very good.
I had a really interesting thing. I had this great realization. I was talking to someone about 2 weeks ago. And this is Darryl. This is like kind of like news for me and you. So when the central banks, whether it be in China or US or Canada, decide to lower interest rates, right? It's in order to stimulate the economy. Okay. They want people to spend more money in the economy. In Canada, the reason that we like our mindset, right? When they lower interest rates, they say, oh, we can borrow more now. Oh, this is good. I'm going to go buy more because I'm going to go take on more debt because the interest rate's really low, right? Darryl, agree? Agree? Okay. In China, because of the way that their thinking is, when the interest rates are low, they said, well, why would I want to put my money in the bank then? And when interest rates are high, they say, oh, not a good time to spend money. I'm going to put it in the bank because I'm going to get a lot more interest, because a lot of Chinese buyers and their philosophy, not completely different mindset. Their philosophy is they don't get loans. They try to buy properties with no mortgages.
But they have to buy it because like somebody told them you can't get married unless you own a property or something. Like there's more behind it there.
I'm just saying that the mindset is completely the opposite. And when rates go down, it's no longer, oh, it's not a good time to put money in the bank, right? And so
I want to comment on that. I think you heard, you heard a part of the interesting side. I guess not a lot of people talk about things what I'm talking about, so I really would like to share more. One problem for the Chinese system is that it's a developing country. It's still developing country. The system somehow needs to catch up with the economy development. One of the system that's I think is not making a lot of sense, and especially what Darryl mentioned, that the mother-in-law always wants the son-in-law to buy a home, is because that's in Canada we lease and ownership is the same. You get the same school zone, you get pretty much the same health insurance, but in China, no. You need to buy a home in order to get the sequence in getting your kids into the top public schools. If you are renting, you are in the second tier. Only when the people who own the homes, kids, are fully satisfied, then it becomes the renting zone. So in a way, renting is not ideal. You want your kids to go to the good public school, especially in the major cities. For some of the major cities, even if you own a home, your chance of going to the top public school is like 90%, 80%. It's not 100% guaranteed. So that people have to buy a home in order to enjoy all those benefits and even privileges.
Also, don't they have to pay for, like, maybe they've changed this, but I heard that you don't just put a deposit down when you buy pre-construction there. You have to buy the whole thing like at the beginning, and then the developer has all that money to, I guess,
yeah, that's
make a
another
little mess
funny
with,
thing.
right?
Yeah, that's another funny thing. And I think that the system also needs to catch up with the economy development. I think right now the rule is not really in favor of the buyer, because the developer can touch the money of the buyer before it's before it's completed in a way. So what happens is that the developer are not borrowing money from the banks themselves. They are allowed legally to use the buyer's funding. That means there could be some corruption there, that when the project is 50% down, they somehow used 80% of the money.
How does that happen all the time?
You know, I think that's because the system is not recognizing the systematic risk of this behavior. So a lot of banks, they're not doing their full responsibility to make sure that you borrow 80% of the money when you finish 90% of the project. Instead, some of them, you know, could be borrowing money more to the developer. Some developer could even shift those money to buy other projects' lands or something else. I think that's a tragedy for many new home buyers. So if I have a family, have a friend to share my thoughts in this system in China, that please buy resales only. Don't focus on the new homes. If you buy new home, definitely buy the #1 developer. It's actually similar to here. I also recommend people only buy from the large builders as well. Don't buy from the small builders.
Yeah.
Didn't the big guys disappear? Like, didn't Evergrande go bye-bye? They were like #2, or were they #1 or #2?
Yeah. They somehow go bye-bye. So in China,
go bye-bye,
if you want to really be really safe, buy resales only when you can see that.
resale only.
Yeah.
You can move in tomorrow.
We just had obviously our interest rate increase here at the Bank of Canada. Okay. So this week we had another quarter point basis, another 25 basis point increase. Obviously, this has now caused people to sort of think, all right, is this going to be over in the fall? We might have further interest rate. How high are interest rates going to go? Like, what are your clients saying?
What are these guys doing? I think
what are your clients saying this week with the interest rates? Do you have people under pressure from those rates who have maybe variable mortgages? What are you experiencing right now in the field?
Okay. First of all, I think there are certain people who are suffering more than the other people. I think the certain people who are suffering are people who bought at the beginning of 2022. And especially if you take a variable rate at that time, you're probably suffering. For people who bought a home like 2018 or 2015, your loan to value is like 30%, or maybe 40%. I think for this group of people, they're not really suffering that much, but of course, people are paying more. Another group of people is that people who are renewing their mortgage. That also means you probably renewed your mortgage in like 2018 or 2019. So for these two group of people, they are suffering the most. But a good part for the people who are renewing their mortgage is that they can somehow extend their mortgage. If your mortgage term has like 15 years left, you can reapply for the mortgage and get it a 30-year mortgage. Then your monthly payment is a lot smaller.
It's horrible though. People are like, some people, their whole goal in life was to like pay down that mortgage, right?
Yeah,
make sure
I
to pay it down.
Understand.
Now it went from 15 years to 75 years.
Yeah. So it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, unfortunately. Yeah. So the government has to decide whether they want whether they want interest low or whether they want inflation low. It's a left hand and right hand issue. There's no such perfect thing. I think it does need some time for these two to balance. But I think if I'm in the house, maybe there could be a way of thinking that 2% inflation is probably not 100% necessary. I don't know for that. But balancing the interest rate and the inflation is important.
But they can just
And that-
recalculate things, right? Especially right now because of how much of the inflation is being credited towards those actual interest payments.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think at the end of the day, if they just kind of move, like if they just carry the one and then maybe like, you know, move this number into this column, I'm sure they could find a way to be able to say that we have a 2 to 3% interest or
Well,
sorry,
yeah.
inflation rate. And the
Yeah.
Bank of Canada is going to be able to uphold their mandate. And
Why don't
and
they just
everyone's gonna be
look
like,
at the numbers? Look at the
soft landing.
data. Yeah.
soft
like
landing.
why don't they look at it and go, you know what? Like if we weren't fucking this up really bad right now and we took out all the things we're doing, everything would be fine already.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like this central control that's supposed to protect the people is actually the real problem here. Because they didn't have to go 500 basis points or like that's crazy.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
So like even so the people that you're dealing with, I'm guessing, like, how are we getting around the new laws right now? How are we dealing with the foreign buyer ban?
I think it's okay. The foreign buyers, they are like 1 to 2% market share of the whole market. It does hit me somehow because my buyers, a lot of them are new immigrants, are working visa, are students. I think they represent the people who doesn't have their working visa or their PR represent about 20% of my whole buyer teams. So my business did get affected by the foreign buyer ban somehow, but I think it really doesn't make a lot of change to the overall market. We are dominated by local buyers, not really by foreign buyers. This is more of a political propaganda in a way that I do this so that I show to my voters that I'm doing something for you.
Right. The voters that don't vote, the ones overseas, right? So
I was seeing actually yesterday, just so you guys know, I was seeing the percentage because a client and I were speaking on the phone and he said the number of new immigrants who vote. So people who are new to Canada within however many years, maybe 3 to 5 years. What do you think that percentage is? How many of them vote?
It's very low because new immigrants means people who get their PR, permanent resident. They cannot vote until they become citizenship.
So sorry, I'm talking about citizens. I'm people who are eligible to vote.
Citizens. Oh, they probably run out and vote right away because they got the right.
I first said it was low. I said, what do they care about?
That's probably super high.
It's almost 80%.
Yeah.
Because they're so happy that they now have their citizenship. But you're right. If they don't have
they're proud.
They can't vote.
Yeah.
But the ones who have actually gotten their citizenship, it's like 80%. And what's the total Canadian population percentage of voting? Like, I don't know, 30 to 40%.
30%.
That's low.
Yeah, 40%.
Low, right? Like
it's all of them.
Yeah.
It's all of them. It's all just the new
who's
immigrants voting.
This
right.
is like back on the docks when people would come here, from Ireland and Europe, they would be giving them, they'd say, oh yeah, welcome. You want your immigration papers? Great. Well, I need you to vote for me next Wednesday. So then that way I can be elected, and they would buy all their votes. And so all these people who are coming in, it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, come here, just in a different way, because they know that they're going to be the ones who are voting, liberal or whoever it is that's approving all this. Obviously, the liberal government. But
yeah, I also want to share an interesting thing for you. Okay, I think in the Chinese community, most people likes the liberals a lot before they get their permanent resident. As soon as they get their permanent resident, they start leaning towards the PC. Okay, that's how they
don't need their help anymore. Yeah.
If you have your parents, your grandparents are on their super visa but not yet getting their permanent residence, you are probably voting for liberals. If every one of your family is here in Canada, well, you're probably going to vote for the PC.
We need to tighten up. We don't let anybody more.
No more immigrants.
We got enough. We need to crack down on services. We need to make sure that everybody's fiscally responsible. That makes a lot of. I've never heard that perspective before, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, so that's just the funny thing.
So are a lot of your clientele new students from abroad that have come here to study and they're buying a place here?
Yes, they are like me. Okay. Before 2023, still in 2022, although people need to pay a foreign buyer tax, which used to be 15% and then becomes 20%, now is 25%. but the student visa they can still buy. I try to sell them pre-construction, because when they buy, they lock in the price. After 3 to 5 years, they already get their PR, so they are not really paying for the foreign buyer tax. Starting this year, people in that category, they can no longer buy. So I can only do lease business for them and try
So
to hold on
they
to
can't
them.
even enter into a, I didn't know this. They can't even enter into a pre-construction contract.
No, they cannot. If they
Even the foreign
enter,
buyer ban covers that?
my license will be suspended for however long it is.
Okay.
So
I
they
never
can
thought about it.
only lease.
Yes, and they can buy commercial. But the thing is that they don't have enough money and knowledge to buy commercial. I buy multifamily myself. I just bought 10 units in Welland.
I imagine you did, yes, for them to live in while they move here. Is it near a school by any chance?
Not really near school. It's just
No.
10 units leasing to pretty much local people.
Wow.
But I think for students, they don't have the energy, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have really the fund to buy a complicated projects like this. So
where are they living
buy it.
though? Where are they living? Where? I don't get it. Like there's so many.
They
Did you
rent.
see? I saw this stat. This stat is crazy. Okay, so I don't know how long ago, 3-4 weeks ago, Canada hit 40 million people in population, right? Just a
I
few
saw
weeks
that as
ago.
well.
Did you see this new stat? Since then, we've brought in 141,000 new immigrants. It's like in a month.
Yeah.
141. That's like half of what we brought in a year a couple of years ago. Like, where are all these people going? Did you see the lineups at this pre-construction thing in Woodstock?
Yeah.
Like what I don't understand. Like,
Freehold?
I'm not the best at math, but like the math on the demand and the supply, I don't care how many vacant homes there are. Like something doesn't add up at all here. Where are all these new students living if they can't even buy a place now? Where are they?
Yeah, I can comment a little bit on that. You know, when I was here, that's 14 years ago, in downtown, students for 2 students living in a 2-bed unit. Okay, that's literally 2-bed. You know, 750, 800 square feet, very decent size. 2 students live there. Nowadays, most of the downtown units for 2-bedroom is 2 couples, 2 young couples, boyfriend, girlfriend live there. And sometimes the solar room, the dining room, they put a door or they put a shelter there, a shelf there, so that another student can live in the den or living in the dining room. Now it's like 3 to 4 to 5 people living in a 2-bed. That somehow answers your question. Like, where does a student go? They do find a place. They just find a smaller place.
Yeah, this is what we keep talking about, though, TK, is like people just, first of all, I don't know that that's legal, but like this is what has to happen to get people in places, is all these crazy chop up jobs that people have to do where, okay, so that's why I was asking before how many units you're allowed, because you could be allowed to do 6, but the house could be chopped up into like 12 pretty easily. And there's a lot of people that they don't give a shit, right? They don't care how many they're allowed to do, right?
Yeah.
They're just going to do it anyways. And you get these houses that are chopped up into 12, 14 rooms for people, right? And they're paying like a lot of money every month. And this is what's absorbing the slack. Or Calgary seems to be pretty busy right now, right?
I saw that 3 out of the 7 projects in Calgary were only exclusively offered to Ontario investors.
Sure.
Why is it?
Surprising. Are any of your clients
looking
looking
they just
there?
open the doors to the other people?
Sure. Do any of your clients consider moving to Calgary or
Investing
investing
really.
in Calgary?
No, not really. My clients are a group of clients who are, I think, is lazy. They are lazy in a good way, that they trust me, trust my team can take care of them. I think only if I can find a good team who can manage properties like we do, take care of my clients the way like I do, that I don't drop the quality of my service, so that I can send my investor clients to Calgary. It's really a market that I'm not as confident as I am here in Ontario. I don't think I know enough to give the best suggestion to my clients over there. I personally will not consider investing in Calgary as of now, but in the future, maybe. Who knows? If I buy a lot of multifamilies myself. By the way, I stopped buying individual residentials. I no longer get mortgage from the banks. They believe I bought too many.
Too
So
many.
if I start buying more multifamily, Calgary could be a destination that I'm looking for, because that's a different story. But if it's individual unit, I think it really doesn't worth a headache if you live in Ontario or if you live in BC and trying to buy in Alberta.
So, question for you.
Are they-
Yeah.
So, with respect to your clients who are buying right now, are any of them looking to do like get into development? Like, would you have clients who are like, oh, we would love to be a part of a development and maybe we could be like an equity owner into a project? Is that something that your clients ever?
Not a lot of them. And I really not suggest that way. I think especially think about it. If you're doing development, who's going to work with you? Tridel, Daniels, Pinnacle, they're not going to work with you, right? You are once again going to work
What
with.
if you were going to be working with one of those big developers and there was an opportunity to invest with somebody very reputable? How would you feel about it at that point?
I don't find an opportunity like that. I think if
I know
that's,
they're hard to find.
yeah, if
But if
there's
you
an
did,
opportunity
it'd be a
like
good one.
that,
They
yeah,
don't
maybe
exist.
people will think about it. Maybe
Ooh.
people
Yeah.
will consider. But
Ah.
I think there's really not enough room for smaller
Ooh.
developers to build developers projects because it's too costly. For smaller developer, they are borrowing at 10%, but for the big players, they're borrowing at 5-6%. Just the borrowing cost can eat up all these small developers' profit. So
Okay.
most of the small developers are really better off if they build other people's project. Like I take on a project that belongs to a client who want to build a custom home themselves.
Sure.
So I'm not
Fees.
worrying about. Yeah, I'm not worrying about the construction cost and the mortgage
Profitability.
cost.
Yeah.
But the other people they are worrying about. I think smaller developers are better off doing other people's projects in a way.
I have a lot next to a client, and we were talking about it, and he was saying that it was a doctor and he was a surgeon, and he bought this lot for 1.1 million a couple of years ago, and it's just been sitting vacant, and he's just cutting the grass every single summer. And he was telling him how much it was going to cost to build. I think it was like 6,000 square feet, and he was giving him the breakdown and everything else. And now, like obviously a couple of years later, based on the information we know, the amount of money he has to spend in order to build on that lot would never be like he would be in way more money than the house would be worth at the end of the day. And so the house is just, the lot's just sitting there vacant because, you know, if for him to be able to spend, let's say $2.5 million in order to be able to build this property, there's
This
no way it's
happens a
worth
lot.
3.6. And so now the lot's just sitting there empty because obviously a doctor, not a specialist in real estate, you know, bought a property with the idea of building, and it's now probably never going to get built at this rate.
I think I do
Not
the
by
math as
him.
well. You know, I study finance. I do the math for the fourplex as well. Like you can build literally 5 units, the fourplex in the front and a garden suite or a backyard
Laneway
suite.
suite.
Yeah. So even for 5 units, the numbers doesn't make any sense. If you
Thank you. Finally, somebody that actually did the math also. Everybody else
we didn't do the math, Darryl, all right?
Nobody
we just looked at the drawings.
I've been telling everybody forever, this fourplex nonsense doesn't do anything. If anything, it's going to increase the values of properties in areas because some stupid investor thinks that he can pay more for the property than the end user. And he's going to pay extra because he thinks, oh, I can do 5 suites. And some realtor told me it's going to cost me $100,000 to do the renovation. And then it takes $500,000 to do the renovation, right? If you want to do it legally, it's going to cost a lot of money to chop up these houses. And if you build one from scratch, it makes no sense either, right?
Yeah, it's like a 1.5 million minimum.
Yeah, I had a client approach me about it who had already done it. And I gave him the facts. I mean, I'm not going to lie to someone and say that they're going to get more money for their house than it's worth. And so I broke down how much his house was worth. I even rounded up just to give them like a fair, assessment. And it was hundreds of thousands of dollars less than his cost. And I couldn't, I just told him, I said, look, I mean, keep the house rented out. And, he's trying to sell it anyways, but not with me. But at the end of the day, that's what it is, like they're just, you went into this with your blindfold on thinking if I build the units, people will want to, pay me whatever whatever it cost me. The buyers aren't willing to pay.
It's not going to happen.
They don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't work like
Not
that.
going to happen.
No, but it works like that on a lot of people's performas somehow, right? Those spreadsheets somehow work with like all the overruns and all the, right? And somehow magically people are going to not only pay the rent that you think they're going to pay, but they're going to pay it every month on time and not trash the place, and nothing will go wrong, right?
Yeah.
So like you were saying before, it's so easy for a tenant to cost you more than the rent that you bring in. It's crazy. Like one thing that they do could cost close to what they pay you in rent in a year, right?
Exactly.
People don't realize that. Like the formula has like 2.5% like vacancy or something crazy, right?
Yeah. I think especially nobody actually did it before, I gave a improper joke. It's like teenager sex. Nobody has done it, okay, but everyone's claiming they've done it and they know how to do it.
Yeah. That is the perfect way to end the show.
I think, a lot of people, they are trying to, the realtors, they try to make up a good story so that they get another deal.
Sure.
This topic, I talk about it in the custom build video in my own channel. That's the realtor makes up the final sales price to a bigger number, and the developer makes up the number to a smaller number. So your cost is less, your income is bigger. By the end of the day, the buyer potentially has more chance buying into the project. And somehow down the road, like 70%, 80% finished, they figure out that, okay, the cost is underestimated and the final sale price is overestimated. So they are actually losing money. They have zero profit from day one, but the realtor and the developer cheated on them.
That's on a good market.
They get paid. The
That's in a
realtor
good
and
market.
the developer get paid. Yeah.
Right. That's in a good market. When it goes sideways, that plus everything else
Norman,
happens.
let's because we're coming to the end of the show. Let's hear from you. What's going to happen to all those pre-construction units that have sold at $1,700, $1,800, $2,000, $2,400 per square foot? What's going to happen when these units come up for closing?
So that's a very good question. When the home price, this is the trick that I learned from developers that they are playing. Some developer, when they sell, for example, at 1,000, and when finishing the product goes to 1,500, which means the buyer makes a lot of money. Then some developers start to picking up problems of the buyers. Your mortgage letter is not ideal. This is a fake letter, so we are going to cancel your purchase. And I take my unit back, I resell at 1,500. However, for things like you mentioned that they sold at 1,800, 2,000, when they finish, the project is like 1,400. Things like what I mentioned will never happen. They will do everything you can to make sure you take. You
don't need to provide us a letter. Don't worry about the letter.
Yeah,
we'll give you a VTB.
It's okay.
100%.
Just take the unit.
VTB.
Yeah. I think there will be the developer is in a problem. At the same time, the realtor who put the buyer into that situation that they buy at 1,800, but finally it's only 1,400, the realtor is also in a difficult position. I don't want to put myself in that position.
Good luck getting the second half of your commission, right?
Yeah. But I think most of the buyer, they will close anyway, but they have to close with like 50%, 60% down in order to make up the difference in the assessment value and the real price they paid. So I think for the buyer, it's also in a difficult position that they used 3 home, 2 homes down payment to cover and pay off this mortgage. I think it's going to be a tragedy, the most for the buyer, but most of them will close anyway. Yeah, they just sit on there. They just sit there for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. When the price starts really to break even, then they consider resale.
Yeah, and what about all
the timeline? like whatever timeline the developers have promised, it will be later than that. By
Yeah.
at least 1 or 2 years. And
Yeah,
hopefully
but
that 1 or
still,
2 years.
Not in low
still the
rise.
price
What
is not
about
enough.
what about all the subdivisions where people bought like 6 months ago? They're under construction. They're gonna have to close in like 3-4 months, and now they like all these crazy people that are out in I don't even know where, like how far. Let's like Bancroft in some new subdivision. They paid 1.3 or 1.4, and now it's worth 800, and they have to close in 4 months at 6%.
I think that's another 2017 is going to happen. In 2017, a lot of developers sued their buyers, and developer pretty much win 100% of those lawsuit cases because they do have a contract. The buyer basically breached the contract.
Yeah, but do they collect the money? They can win all the cases they want. Did they collect
the
the
buyer had the
money?
money to-
Right.
yeah.
At least they collected all the deposits.
Deposits, great.
So developer now start to ask for a lot more deposit than used to ask for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It used to be like 20, 30 grand was like the most the pre-construction freeholds low rise would ask for. And now
Yeah.
I'm hearing 120, like
20%.
big numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25%
10,
before
10 plus
closing.
percent. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So Norman,
Well,
we've come to the end.
yeah.
I want to kind of hear from you where people can find you. You're a smart guy. Like you're definitely
Love it.
You're in a
Honest.
unique business position where you've got this financial background. You're offering this like tailored service to investors. I'm 100% sure that there's a huge market for that. I think
Beautiful
that you can
market.
serve a major segment of the market and that a lot of people can benefit. So where can people find you? Social media, YouTube, website.
Yeah.
How do people find
Yeah.
you?
Okay, so you post this video on YouTube, right? Any other channels?
It'll
Our
be on TikTok and Twitter.
podcast though, so Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Yeah.
It'll be everywhere in pieces somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Instagram.
I'm on YouTube. I can leave a message. Please pin my message if you don't mind for this podcast. So that people can find my YouTube channel. And over there,
For
I have
sure.
my email address, I have my WeChat, I have my WhatsApp, my
Right.
phone number. My website is also easy. It's just Norman Xu. Norman's my first name, Xu is my last name. NormanXU.com. You can find me on my website. I use WhatsApp, I use Instagram, I use Xiaohongshu, which is the Chinese version of the Instagram. So I'm all yours. Okay. If
Awesome.
you or your fans has any questions specifically, interested in my own community, in my logic, feel free to contact me.
Awesome.
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 You've been a great guest today. We really appreciate it. And maybe in the future we'll get you back on the show and we can kind of get an update and see where the market goes. We'll look at some of the predictions we made and all the comments about the strategies that people are using and see if anything's changed.
Perfect. Thank you for your invitation. Okay, I'm really glad to be here with you, Darryl, and with you, TK.
Awesome.
Thank you, Norman. Have a great day.